Leeds United are set to take on Stoke City today in what could be an absolutely incredible match for the Whites if things go the way that they should, but they very rarely do with us. So stick around throughout the video for my predictions at the end, Leeds United team news, how Stoke City play, and what you can expect to see throughout the match. So first up is the Leeds United team news, and it was a sort of newsless press conference from Daniel Farke. It was a little bit weird. There wasn't too much to be said. He said that the turnaround from the most recent match that we played to this one, being 4 days, shouldn't be a huge issue for the likes of Sam Byram and Archie Gray, who either have a tendency to get injured or a lot of match load, especially in the case of Archie Gray. So it should be a very, very similar squad to played last week. However, it means there's no Jed Spence, Junior Firpo, or Stuart Dallas back yet. That also means that the team is likely to stay a lot more static because fullbacks are the positions where we could see a lot of rotation, and we do not have the fullbacks to do that rotation, seeing as Spence, Firpo, and Dallas are still out. Having Jed Spence in would be absolutely huge, just because another right back that can do a job to an incredibly high standard is a must at some point soon. Furthermore, it looks like there aren't any setbacks for Jamie Shackleton or Willie Gnonto. Both are definitely on track to come back. Gnonto played minutes in the last match, especially when we went incredibly aggressive, and Jamie Shackleton will also be available to play, which is very good. Importantly, Archie Gray should be fit, and Daniel Farke made an especially big point of saying that his job isn't to make sure that England have fit under-19s players. His job is to make sure that Leeds United are winning matches, and that tells me that Archie Gray will definitely play today. His position is a bigger question, and especially notable for the predicted lineup. So, in net, you have to go with Illan Meslier at this point. Meslier is effectively undroppable. He is a very, very consistent goalkeeper, and although he conceded 2 in the last match, a lot of people tried to put the blame on him for that, but neither of the goals were especially his fault. Norwich created some incredibly good chances. The defence was poor for their second goal, and the first one was a set piece where he had very little time to react. Meslier is one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship. There's not a question about it, and I don't think there really should be. I would similarly put Archie Gray at right back, even though against Norwich he didn't have the best of performances. I think that's because he's come off a hell of a lot of game time in a very, very short space of time. And I would like to have him rotated out of the squad at some point soon, not for a long term, just for a game or two, so he's got a bit of rest. Jed Spence would be an ideal player in this position, but with Daniel Farke sort of implying that Luke Ayling will play a smaller role this season, I don't see Ayling starting this match. As much as I do like Luke Ayling, I don't quite think that he has the fitness for it at the moment. However, players that do have the fitness are Pascal Struijk and Joe Rodon. I've had very little bad things to say about Pascal Struijk and Joe Rodon this season. Neither of the goals earlier this week were their fault. I don't think Pascal Struijk even made a diving, lunging challenge to try and save the ball from going in against Norwich City for their second goal. And the first goal was just set-piece chaos. I think it was Kamara that might have lost his man. I can't be 100% sure. But Pascal Struijk is developing into an on-field leader, and that is something that we have to value at Leeds and let him stay on the pitch. Joe Rodon is probably our best centre-back, so this pairing just makes sense to me. Sam Byram likely playing on the left, partially because we don't have that many left-back options available. Shackleton, again, could in theory take this spot, but it's one where we're really waiting for Firpo and Dallas to come back to have more options. In midfield, with Archie Gray at right back, I think it makes sense to play Ampadu and Kamara in the middle. Ilya Gruev was discussed a little bit in the press conference, but he's sort of an Ampadu replacement, and if Ampadu is fit, I don't see Gruev coming in and taking his place. Ampadu and Kamara have a little bit of a partnership to build up, so the more minutes they get together, the better, and if the turnaround wasn't an issue, as Daniel Farke implied, no harm in playing them. Dan James and Crysencio Summerville out wide. Summerville is completely undroppable after his performance at the weekend, scoring 2 and ultimately being a bit of a menace for the other team. And Dan James just runs his socks off. He is a Duracell bunny of a man, and I don't think there is any reason to leave him out of the side, purely because he'll run until the last minute for you. A little bit of a cold, sorry. That will probably go by the wedding, I hope. Yeah, that pairing makes sense. Dan James has a lot of assists this season, which invaluable against a team such as Stoke, which I'll get onto later. And Summerville is on the form of his life, one of the better players in the Championship. got to keep him. Up top, I would play Joel Pirro and Georginio Rutter. I'm not calling either of them a number 10 because they're both effectively hybrid number 9s. Just Rutter goes both higher up and further backwards. Rutter's range is longer, but they effectively play in the same position, I think. And Pirro's late arrivals in the box could be especially important against Stoke City. I will get to that a little bit later because we have to work out how to deal with Stoke. Now, if you have a look at the pure table on its own and see that they're 20th, you might think that we are in for an absolute rout here. We are going to pull them apart, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Stoke City, when playing at home, have played 6. They have 3 wins and 3 not draws. I'm going to fix that. There we go. They have 3 wins and 3 losses at home, which means it is absolutely a lottery when you are playing against Stoke City. We've got to hope that we land on the right side of that lottery, and there's a few tactical things that we can do to make sure that we do later on. They have just beaten Sunderland, and I feel like their position in the table is mostly down to the bad run of matches they've just had. They've just had to play in a row Southampton, Leicester, and Sunderland, with Bristol City right before that, and we didn't have the best of times against Bristol City either. Bristol City were quite good against us, and I think that Stoke have been really unlucky with the matches that they've had in very, very close running, and they've got a lot of strengths, which we'll have to deal with. They are quite good at scoring from set pieces, which is something that we'll have to keep an eye out for. They've scored, I think, 4 of their goals from set pieces, if I can find the stats. Yeah, I think 4 of their goals have come from set pieces, and the rest have been from open play. Now, having conceded a corner at the weekend, that set pieces thing concerns me a little bit, but hopefully we are able to shut them down instead of struggling like we are used to. They're also quite good at controlling possession in the opposing half. That is because 9 of their other goals, every single one of their other goals, has come from creating chances from open play, but non-transitionally, from having the ball, playing nice little passes and creating opportunities, and leading to a goal. That is something that I think we'll be okay with dealing with. It's not a strength that I think worries me too much because we've got Ampadu in there, we've got Kamara in there, we've got centre-backs that know how to deal with these opportunities, and as long as we're not caught on the transition, I think we'll be okay. In terms of their weaknesses, this is where we should really, really look to take advantage of them. And the first place is they are poor against set pieces, and in a season where we've been fairly good at scoring from them, I'm quite happy with that. Rodon and Strouk are big, tall blokes that are able to get their heads on corners. We've been good from free kicks as well. And we'll get a lot of set pieces because they've given away a hell of a lot of cards. An average of 3 per match. We give away an average of 2 per match, I think. And thinking back through our matches, a hell of a lot of those are ones where we shouldn't have given away cards in the first place because they were really, really daft ones. Ideally, our more skilled players like Summerville, Rutter, will be able to draw fouls, make sure that they give away cards, and stop them from making those challenges later on in the match because you don't want to go down to 10 men against this Leeds United side. Furthermore, they have a fairly low XG. It's one of the lower ones in the league. It's not the biggest issue for them because they're able to score goals anyway, but compared to ours, we should be able to break through them pretty simply. And they're pretty allergic to getting clean sheets. They've had 1 all season so far. I'm going to have a quick run through all of their fixtures just to see who it was against. And it was not telling me. A 1-0 win against Watford, when Watford were unable to create anything against them. And we've seen that Watford can be pretty abject. And I feel like against what is one of the most creative sides in the league, which we have at the moment, due to all of our sort of chaotic, creative attackers, will really cause them a problem. I don't think we'll have a problem with scoring. I think if we concede, that's where the issues come in. Yeah, the last time they kept a clean sheet was back in August, so I think we might be okay in this one if we're able to stay solid defensively and do what we do in attack, which is just create obscene amounts of opportunities, especially if Farke decides he wants 6 attackers on the pitch at once again. In terms of predictions, I think we could absolutely blow this Stoke City side out of the water. Wiping the floor with them would be ideal, just to get the confidence up going into the derby against Huddersfield at the weekend. I want to say something like a 4 or 5-0. Realistically, I think we're going to go maybe a sort of 3-1 kind of scoreline, purely because we are not always clinical enough to finish those chances off, and we always have a mistake in us at the back. I don't see them keeping a clean sheet in any world. Ideally, we don't lose this match, which has only happened against Stoke City because sides have been fairly leaky. I'll say a nice 3-0 win. Hopefully I'm right. Comment your predictions down below, like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe. Memberships are also open, so if you have a couple of quid willing to be chucked at a YouTube channel, that would massively appreciate it. I am here to give big thanks if you do. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.